Greetings, welcome everyone. Welcome to the, let's see, what are we, October 6th meeting of the Rotary Club of Edmond. Before we have, well, as Mark Gandy makes his way up for the invocation and pledge, I'd just like to remind you that I'm Beth Case. I'm the president-elect. I'm filling in for James Boggs, who is actually our speaker today. So, yes, you have me one more week. You can do it all. That's exactly right. Just a reminder that James' word for the year is impactful. And this week, our impact on the community was the Miracle League, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. And Mark, come on up.
Let's bow and pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for making it possible for us to be here today. We thank you for the good health that you allow us to have to let us be here. We want to lift up our fellow Rotarian Tim Richardson and his wife Susan as they continue to have needs, and that you might meet those needs right now. Pray for those doctors and specialists who are attending to those conditions. We pray for our community, our state, and the nation's leaders, that they seek your wisdom as they make decisions that affect us all. Today we pray to receive a special blessing as we are committed to being a true service organization to help humanity. May each of us in our daily lives learn the joy of being attentive and sharing with others less fortunate than ourselves. May our motto, which includes serving, caring for, and sharing with others, be our service, our life of service. In Jesus' name we pray. Let's pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark, thank you. Let's also thank our other Rotarians in service today. Chris Berry was our greeter. Keith Beatty was our registrar today. And as always, we're going to thank Jessica and Andy and the tech team that gets all of this running and makes it possible for us. So let's give them a round of applause. Just to get started a little bit, Keith May is always doing my Rotary stories, so if you've got a Rotary story that you think is fantastic, or maybe mediocre, maybe like mine, see Keith May, and he'd love to do a story about you and how Rotary impacts you. I also want to remind us, and I was left with an impactful moment from Ruth Boss's Rotary story about how we see a need and we fill it. And I hope we live that every day and every week as Rotarians. Let's see, we've got some speakers upcoming. You can see, I looked at this week and said, holy cow, we're getting to the end of the year. Look at that. We're getting close, guys. But we've got some spectacular speakers coming up, and as you can see, November 10th, Rotary Trivia. Who started studying? Yes, she's studying, she's getting ready. All right. Thank you for those who came out last night for Miracle League, for being baseball buddies. We had a really, really nice time again. I don't know how many of you were outside, but the weather was perfect. And that doesn't happen in Oklahoma, does it? To have perfect weather. Thanks to Chris Berry, Natalie Bonney, Mike Sanders, Keith May. Keith May was our pitcher last night. Mark Jones, Petty Guide and her husband Dick, Dave Osborne, and Christine Meredith. So let's give them a round of applause for helping out last night. Barry Bell will be, I don't see him, will be leading up our Thanksgiving baskets. Most of you know we've been doing those for a long time. There's a list of items that you can pick up from the grocery store, and following along our theme of being impactful, I challenge each and every one of you to make an impact this year with your donations for the Thanksgiving baskets. It's It's been a challenging year for a lot. On your bulletin, you've got some opportunities for service above self. You can see November 6th, we still need some SAG drivers for the bike tour, and you can see Jennifer Seaton on that. And then Thanksgiving Day, we have an opportunity to serve our community with the turkey trot. And where's Josh? Yes, there he is. Hey, Josh, we normally do face painting and the moonwalk. How will that go with COVID restrictions? Are there any? Do we know? We're good. Okay. You heard it there first. We're good. I don't know if any of you have participated. It's just a few hours Thanksgiving morning, and it is a wonderful, wonderful experience, a good opportunity to be impactful. We talked just a little bit about trivia coming up November 10th. Think about this. This actually serves as one of our fundraisers, and we'll be taking sponsorships pretty soon, so you'll see Jessica on that for sponsorships for trivia. And wow, I went through it really fast. That's why I was trying to give James plenty of time today, because is he a big talker? So let's go ahead. JD, Sergeant of Arms, who do I have today? Mike Sanders. Oh, this is always fun. This is good when Mike's up to bat.
My brown bag?
Oh, Jessica, I don't know that.
Is this one on? Hello. Scary. First of all, it'll be my pleasure to introduce any visiting Rotarians in the audience. Anyone here today? All right, bring the microphone. Let me stand by you.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so I have with me Brian Sturkle, who is a visiting Rotarian, but also with a twist, he's also a guest. So he has been a 10-year Rotarian in Guthrie and has recently transferred with a financial institution to Edmond. So, and also a family friend, so Brian's family and my family, we were very close growing up, and he can give you golf lessons as well. So he's an excellent putter. So please welcome Brian Sturkle.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Brian.
Yeah.
How about other guests, please?
We have a club guest for the 18th time. Cody Hardy is like the #1 Rotary volunteer already, and we haven't inducted her yet. So we are so glad to welcome Cody probably in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Okay.
This is her third publication week, right?
Yes, it is, but she's going to be gone next week.
Okay.
And so am I. So we're pushing her back 1 week. Okay, so welcome, Cody.
Hey, Cody. Other guests?
I have a club guest, Matt Winsler, with me today. Matt is with First United Bank here in Edmond. We've done a number of projects between St. Luke's and First United Bank, a number of events, and a great organization, great bank that does a lot of service in our community. So Matt's a club guest with us today. We're glad to have you here.
Any other guests? For announcements, Chief, excuse me. Roller skates.
Yes, roller skates, yes. Yes. So we have with us former mayor and council member Elizabeth Weiner is here. So during her time, amongst the many things she did while she served the community, was also being a champion for regional transit. So very appropriate to have her with us today as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you. I'm going to introduce Jason Fairbrush, and I know Jason from my council duties at ACOG, and Jason is the interim executive director for RTA, and he's also the executive director for COTPA, which, if you've had anything to do with public transportation around the Oklahoma City area, Jason has had his hands all over that in some fashion. So He is a champion for public transportation, and as James will mention in a little bit, he's invested with us on the RTA project. So wonderful to have Jason here.
Chief Younger has an announcement he's proud of.
For those of you who didn't get a chance to attend last Friday, we graduated our most recent police academy. So we welcomed 8 new members to our department. So if you tend to drive a little fast, you might want to slow down because those 8 new people are out there trying to prove they know what to do. And while they're all great, one a little bit different thing for this academy is 50% of them were female. And so we didn't hire them for that reason, but it's great that was added to the course. Thank you. Dollar.
And the other 50% were male, I assume. Oh. Chris Goodman is not with us today, Chief Goodman, but he has a happy note also. His son just got promoted to sergeant within the Oklahoma City Fire Department.
I feel like I have to say this. Chief, one of the females from the graduating class had the highest test scores, and she also had the best shooting average as well.
Don't mess with her, right?
I know.
Hello?
That's the one I want, what I call it.
Lost it again? Microphone? I'll just yell, how's that? For those of you that weren't here last week, I'd like to fine Dan Chavez $1 because he got the king of diamonds and he cleaned out the pot. So share a little money with us if you don't mind. Also on this date, October 6th in history, in 1882, they had the very first World Series game, and that was between the Red Stockings and the White Stockings. So if you've ever been to a World Series game, or if you've ever been to Chicago or Cincinnati, that'll cost you $1 today. Today in 1889, Thomas Edison invented the motion picture. So if you've ever been to a movie theater, that'll cost you $1. And last but not least, in 1865 in Gainesville, Florida, you know what was invented today? Gatorade. So if you've ever had a drink of Gatorade, that'll cost you $1. And last but not least, about 3 weeks ago, James, you were supposed to be here and you weren't here. Why? And you weren't here because?
Flat tire.
A flat tire, so you weren't here to take grief for being in the Edmond Life and Leisure. Most of the time when you see a promotion in the newspaper in Oklahoma and the picture's about that big, but this is James's. And so his happy note and announcement is he has a new job, right?
Right.
Executive Vice President of?
First National Bank and Trust. It was 2 banks that merged together.
So congratulations, that'll cost you $1. But also
on James, he did do Pistol Firing Cowboys twice yesterday, a leadership Edmond tour of the new Princess Devil Boutique, and so that deserves at least a $5.
Yeah.
That would be a $5 abatement.
Yeah. But on the Regional Transit Authority, and you can't make the meeting here for flat tire and all that, if you're going to be on the Transit Authority, I think you should have a gift. So this is for you. Little fix-a-flat.
Very deserving roast. I anticipated it. I brought an Andrew Jackson with me today.
Thanks, sir.
All right.
That's it, Madam President.
Mark, thank you. That was great. And welcome to all of our guests. Please know you're always welcome. I like it when I see a handful of cash going across there. That goes to our scholarship fund. So nice job. Nice job. While Jessica's still standing up, let's say if we're not broken over there. Okay, all right, let's say hello to our friends on Zoom. Cynthia Ormsby, Janet Yowell, Jeff Despain, Shannon Price, Sherry Jordan, Steve Conkin, Steve Murdoch, Ray Hibbard, and Don Mamer. So say hello to them. I also have one thing to note. If you will look at your bulletin, you will see that someone has a birthday today. Did he? Dale Schaefer? Happy birthday to you. All right, well, I'm wrapping up my duties, James's duties that I've taken over. And no one wanted to introduce James today. I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. James, we're happy to have you as our speaker today. Come on up.
What? I got this one right here.
So the cordless is on batteries.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I'll just stand right here.
Switch over.
So the-
We've got our technical duties to take care of things.
So
Just a second.
Forward.
Oh, no, don't push me button down. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to all of our friends on Zoom. Again, Jason, we ready to go, Jess? Okay, welcome everyone, especially to our friends on Zoom. Jason, glad to have you here today. Our prior councilwoman, Victoria, was a champion of the RTA. Our former Mayor Wayner, was a champion of RTA. And actually, Mayor Wayner, thanks for the trust that you put to actually appoint me to serve on behalf of Edmond. And as Nick Massey once told me, it's not a lifetime indictment. So eventually, the RTA will be up and running and funding, but in the meantime, it's a lot of fun. And we really do, Victoria, Mayor, we really stand on your shoulders, the shoulders of ACOG. Jason and I and our team get to do a lot of fun stuff because of all the great things that you two ladies in ACOG did. So again, I'm so appreciative of you two. Thank you. So today, we're going to go through a lot of slides, and this is all available on our website. And basically, it's an update of where we are in terms of regional transit authority. We're going to talk about the RTA. We'll give a transit mode kind of 101 for those that have asked for that. I appreciate the question. Summary of our public engagement, our system plan, the alternative analysis, and really the fun stuff, which is the upcoming steps. You see, and I mentioned some of the people that we stand on their shoulders. This started in 2005. There was a milestone in 2011, you'll see there, with an intermodal transportation hub master plan that was created. You roll the clock forward 10 years later is where we are today. We actually started in 2018, and Larry and his team at the city will remember a lot of this great history. In 2015, there was an important commuter corridor study that was performed by our friends at ACOG, and then finally the Encompass 2040 project by our friends at ACOG. So I'm a banker, I like to keep things simple, right? You have an architect that does plans, they turn it over to a GC to build your home or your building. ACOG was the architect, and now the RTA is the GC that's trying to put all the puzzles together and figure it out. And so we're so appreciative of our friends over at ACOG. The formation of the RTA, a lot of people may not know this, it was actually created by state statute, and there's a little bit of the history there. You'll see it dates back to 2014. There was a major milestone in 15 when the cities came together with an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, and created the ACOG task force. Victoria served on that. And then really the historic signing where the 7-member board that's made up of 6 cities came together, and Mayor Wayner signed on behalf of Edmond. We were down at the Santa Fe station in Oklahoma City. It was a pretty exciting day to be there, and it was obviously pre-COVID, so it was a fun event with a lot of people there. Our board is chaired by Governor Brad Henry, and it's been an honor to work alongside Governor Henry become friends with him. I'm a Republican, he's a Democrat, we're friends. We actually got vaccinated together when the RTA was able to get our vaccines. He's a tremendous leader. He's been fun to get to know. Jason will tell you that regardless of politics, his mind and his ability to accomplish things are impressive. Edmond's well represented because Governor Henry actually lives in the Edmond city limits as well. He's one of the 2 Oklahoma City members of our board. So 7-member board, 6 cities, based on population and funding that was given by the cities. Oklahoma City has 2. The other member cities have 1 representative, and that's how we make up our 7-member board that represents 6 cities. Our Vice Chair, Marion Hutchinson, is a tremendous resource in the public transportation world. He's an oil and gas executive, lives in Norman. You'll see the guy there from Edmond. Mary Malone, a longtime friend, used to run the Journal Record. She's the other Oklahoma City member of our board. Steve Eddy, former city manager, tremendous resource as far as city government, represents City of Moore. Mr. Vick, who is everybody's favorite board member, represents Del City. We had a former board member that actually passed away, and Mr. Vick came on board in his honor, and it really gave us a lot of much needed background in terms of engineering. And then Aaron Budd, a young lawyer, sorry, Del City is Director Vick. And then Aaron Budd, a young lawyer, real active in the Midwest City community. He cares about Midwest City. He has a great relationship with Tinker. He represents Midwest City. Our team, our Jason, our executive interim director, and then Katherine Holmes. Mayor Wayner had the opportunity to be on the committee that actually selected Katherine Holmes. She's the best in the country at what we do. She's out of Salt Lake City. She has a lot of relationships with the rails that we need to have in order to accomplish things, but she also has the experience in the background. It was very fortunate, not just for the Metro, but for the state, that we were able to get Katherine because of her background and her experience. And a lot of the things we're doing are going to help our friends in Tulsa and in the rural areas as well. You'll see where we are now. We're in the alternative analysis phase, and we actually have different phases. We'll talk about our different corridors. For each corridor, we'll soon be starting environmental and engineering. Someday we'll go to a vote of the people for funding source, but a lot of our funding comes from federal funding as well. So who's really involved in that funding? You'll see there at the federal level, the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Federal Highway, Federal Transit, Federal Railroad Administrations. At the state level, we work closely with ODOT. At the regional level, ACOG, and then the existing transit operators that are in place. So COTPA, Jason's team in Oklahoma City, Embark, CityLink here in Edmond, as well as the city of Norman. Our goals are simple. We want to create mobility and connectivity. We want to have equity and accessibility. If you're a young kid in Oklahoma City and you don't have a car, you should have the right to get on the train and come to Edmond and study at UCO. Economic and workforce development. If you're a young kid in college, from some of the people in this room, you kind of want to keep your kids in our state. So this is going to help with that. Sustainability and viability, and that will be important as we come out of the planning and the engineering phase and get into the funding sources. And maybe someday soon, in the next couple of years, we'll be ready to put it to the people. And the way that works simply is the 6 cities came together to create one form of government as it relates to regional transportation. So other cities can buy in if they would like. Other cities can get out if they want before the vote. And then eventually the majority will rule when we go to a vote of the people to seek sales tax funding for the operations of the transit authority. Different types of modes you'll see. You've probably heard about a lot of these. A fixed route bus, a streetcar, our friends in Oklahoma City have. Bus rapid transit. There might be points that make sense when we listen to the community and we take feedback. Maybe it makes sense to have a bus rapid transit route to Tinker or to the airport, and we'll be working through all that with the public engagement. Light rail transit, which We're on pace and doing a lot of studies in engineering at the moment to see if our North Corridor, which will run from Edmond through Oklahoma City to Norman, could be a candidate for light rail transit and then commuter rail. So the different types of those modes and the costs, and what I want to highlight here is at the bottom, 51 cents for commuter rail, light transit rail, 92 cents, operating cost per passenger per mile, and you'll see the other modes of transportation. It's cheaper than building new highways. It's better and more efficient than setting on I-35 when you're trying to get home or get to work. And it's a simple kind of different breakdown of the different modes and the capital costs. We've had a lot of great public engagement in probably the last 6 months, I'd say, Jason. Each of our member cities have a communications director. So for the city of Edmond, Casey's team is involved, and they have media that the RTA provides to them that's helped drafted by Katherine and by our friends at Kimley Horn, who are helping us with this product. And it's all coordinated between the same cities. There may be a message for Midwest City that supports the RTA, and there may be a message from Norman or Edmond that supports the RTA. So you'll see a lot more of that messaging on our social media in the coming months. Again, it's important that we have equity, efficiency, transparency, that everything that we do is meaningful. All of our board meetings are open and subject to Open Records Act, but then it's just continuous dialogue between the cities and between the community. Different ways that we engage. We've had town hall meetings earlier this year. RTAmoves.com is our website. We keep all of this information on that. We have frequent board briefings. We have other stakeholders that are involved. We work closely with our friends at Tinker as well, even though they're not a member city, they're an important stakeholder for us. Press and other updates, as well as our social media, and you can sign up for email updates. As far as our transit system plan, it depends on which, corridor we're talking about, whether it's our north-south corridor, whether it's our east corridor that goes to Delta City and Midwest City. We're at different phases, and you see there that on some of those, we're doing engineering as well. So here is our approved transit system plan, and if everyone can see that. So we could potentially have a north-south corridor from Edmond through Oklahoma City down to Norman and OU. And then an east corridor potentially through Del City and Midwest City and Tinker. And that's where the team at Kimley Horn and our staff and Katherine and the public feedback are deciding the proper mode, whether it's rail or whether it's bus rapid transit or some other form. And then ultimately it would all connect with anything that a city already has. For example, here in Edmond, our bus system, the bus system and the rail car system for Oklahoma City, as well as other cities. There's also importance to have, your analysis, alternative analysis overview, and really each different city may have a different preferred alignment or mode based on the feedback from the people, based on engineering, based on cost, and based on funding sources. So again, there's a lot of coordination, a lot of community engagement. Quick overview, which most people in this room wanted to hear about, was the north-south corridor. What's being currently studied? Rail commuter service options. And this is a different phase than some of the other parts. On the east corridor, we're looking at the demographics and travel patterns. We're not quite ready to say like we are on the north-south corridor. We want to get it right, not fast. Upcoming steps, what you can do is just really get involved, learn, ask questions, be part of our town halls, be positive, be supportive on social media. I think it's important to note that the majority of the funds will be from grants, they'll be from federal funding. A portion of the funds will need to come from sales tax revenue in order for this to launch. So someday in the future, we need leaders in this room to be positive. The 6 cities will have a vote, and the sum of all those votes combined will either say yes or no to that funding source, which is coming in the future. Potentially, maybe, hopefully as early as 2023, but time will tell because we want to get it right, not fast. At this time, what I'd like to do is just give Jason a moment, if he wants to say anything on behalf of our staff and our team, and then we'll open it up for questions, and would love to hear feedback. I wanted to leave a lot of time for questions, but Jason, go ahead real quick, please, sir.
So my role as the interim executive director is primarily, my role in special, primarily supporting the administrative functions of the RTA. And if you guys have been in the community, I know you all been in the community for a while, and you've probably heard through the years, this concept of regional transit, and there's this idea that rail, high-capacity transit is coming, and I guess what I would say is working with this board, and to the credit of all those at ACOG and that have been recognized today, all the foundation that was laid to get us here, now I think as Mr. Boggs described, now that the GC's in place, things are really coming together fast. So I guess that would be my message is, they're a swift acting board to keep up with from a staff level, because they do like to get things done. And the phases that Director Boggs was sharing with you, one way to kind of think of those, at least at this point, if you recall that slide, there was like 4 different phases, and we're looking at that as kind of like a 4-year plan. So it's coming together rather quickly, is what I would share with this group.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for your leadership and your teamwork. So let's open it up for questions. And Jason's going to answer all the hard questions.
I'd like to know whether you were going to do anything else at the airport earlier, because I think the airport is crucial to downtown Oklahoma City. People can actually come on a day trip or a weekend, and all those hotels downtown need help with traffic. And from the point of view of riding from Edmond to the airport, I think there's a big attraction for that, because if you go away and you don't want to take your car down there and leave it, riding the public transport down there would be a big help to everybody.
Yeah, Jason, you want to take that one?
Sure.
Here you go. That's for the Zoom, and that's for the room.
Yeah, so the airport corridor, for sure. I mean, we've all traveled. We know how convenient, we know how important it is to have that public transit connection from the airport to particularly downtown, or where the hotels are, where people want to go. And so, interestingly enough, when the RTA adopted their vision plan, keep in mind the work that had been done before was really focused on that north-south corridor and that east corridor. And that was one of the things the board identified when they were putting their plan together, was like, wait, we don't really have anything here going to the airport, and we have to have that corridor identified, because it really benefits all of the communities, right? With Will Rogers World Airport being really the airport that serves us all. So what I would say is the north-south corridor and the east corridor are being studied first, if you will, because that's where all the work had already been done. So it's a lot easier to pick up that work and move it along. We have actually applied for a competitive grant that would allow us some additional, if we were awarded that competitive grant, will allow us some funds to begin studying that airport corridor and even that west corridor. But as we kind of think of the sequencing, if those funds come in, that airport corridor will be the next one likely that the RTA would get studied.
Yeah, and Victor, I'll just add to that. When we started, I'll let you keep that one, Jason. When we started with the prior plans we had, and this funding that Jason's team, Katherine's help have applied for is key, and it's critical. If you think this started in 2005, and in 2018 they handed it off to us, and here we are 3 years later. We actually kept working through the pandemic. We worked virtually. We have a lot of committee meetings so we can have efficient board meetings. And so we've been charging ahead, but that was something that's very important to me, to our community, to the metro, but to our board. Yes, Amy.
You mentioned somewhere in your talk that
majority would decide this. I'm just curious, you talk about an election. There are a lot of ways to do these types of elections that involve lots of communities. Is it going to be a majority vote of all 6 communities put together, or is it a majority of each community? And what happens if 5 vote yes and 1 vote no, assuming it's that way?
Yeah, great question. So the 6 cities, for the topic of regional transportation, agreed to come together, Andy, and create one form of government for this topic. So then it would be majority, if and when we get to that point of all combined. That's right. So, for example, a city could entirely vote no, or another city could entirely vote yes, and anything in the middle is what it is. The math would become the majority of the whole. Again, because you had these 6 government entities that decided to fund a new form of government, for lack of better words, for this topic. Great question.
I have a question. I noticed that on one of the slides there on the map there was a blue kind of checkered line out towards the Piedmont area. It's alternate something there, the one that's going from the northwest there, and it says something like alternate initiatives. How does that fit in? I don't know if it was this one. How does that fit in? Is that a source of conflict in the future if they're not part of this?
Okay, so I think what you're asking about, just to be clear, is really kind of the blue dotted lines that say initiatives by others or initiatives under study. Yes, so let's talk about those real quick. Sure. So keep in mind the high capacity transit system that's being designed here is the idea is for all of the public transit to integrate and work together, right? And what you see there, particularly in the Northwest, kind of going out towards the Piedmont area, not that far, but is the Northwest BRT. So the Northwest BRT is actually a project that the City of Oklahoma City and Embark are currently constructing. We're actually in 60% design, and that will bring the region's first bus rapid transit, serving Classen Boulevard and Northwest Expressway, terminating at Meridian and Northwest Expressway, with plans for a phase 2, thus the dotted line, going all the way out to the turnpike there for additional park and ride opportunities and to bring commuters in from that area into the core. So, and then just to keep on that just real quick, the other dotted lines are those are the additional BRTs that are envisioned as part of MAPS 4. So MAPS 4 with the city had $87 million worth of transit projects. The majority of that was going to additional bus rapid transits. One envisions going to the northeast, one to the south. And then as you can see, all of those connect to the high capacity corridors and hub that the RTA is concerned with at this time. So they should all, the idea is they all work together.
That's a very important question, especially with our messaging, right? And it goes back to our stakeholders and the other people that we have the opportunity to coordinate with. It's not as simple as 6 cities and ODOT and ACOG. There's a whole lot of other great things that are going on that ultimately make up the system, but that the RTA doesn't necessarily have to directly pay for.
Having grown up around the Dallas area, seeing all the victories and the failures of YARD over the years, how closely are you guys working with and talking to that city 190 miles away from here? You've gone through what you guys are talking about. How are you interacting with them?
Yeah, Tom, great question. And really, I think Mayor Wayner would agree, that's the value of Katherine Holmes. And so you've got different people that do different things for their day jobs on our board, and we have a wonderful administrative staff, and we have great city councils that come and go with elections, right? And so we're this body that, we're not sure how long we're going to be out there, or when, when it'll be over or when it might end. It truly may be perpetuity, as Nick Massey told me. But at the end of the day, the importance of learning from Dallas, the DART, from Seattle, from Denver, from other communities that are closer to the size of Oklahoma City, Memphis. We're very engaged on that. I think Jason will tell you, Director Hutchinson in Norman is also probably the leader of that. Director Steve Eddy from Moore as well. Larry knows him very well, but that's something that we're always asking about, or maybe grinding on, moving a little fast with Jason and Katherine and their teams. Jason, is there anything you want to add about that? No. Great question. That's also, too, the best way also in New Mexico as well to learn from them. And we gathered data from all them. At the start of the pandemic, we had to run an RTA bill. We ran one in the House and one in the Senate. They both approved with no votes. They were unanimously passed. It was non-controversial. We needed to get some things cleaned up at that level. And then the pandemic hit. We came back this year. We ran one through the Senate and the House, and it passed and was signed by the governor with one no vote. We spent a lot of time with Katherine, our consultant, looking at the other cities to see how they accomplished those hurdles. Tom, great question. Josh.
I wanted to make a statement, and then you can add on to it if you'd like, but we have to remind ourselves often at the conversation at ACOG when we start thinking about the cost of this project. It is going to be very expensive. These are very expensive things to do for a region, but the reason why this task force was formed back at ACOG back when is because you have to start looking at, as your city grows and grows and grows, where are you going to put more traffic? There comes to a point that financially, you can't just keep adding highways and highway lanes. In fact, this last year for ODOT was the first year that their budget for maintenance surpassed their budget for new projects. So we have aging infrastructure all around the metro that we not only need to add new infrastructure, but we have to take care of it as well. So what they're talking about that isn't the great slide is when you're talking about a $90 million interchange at I-240 and I-35, just to be able to take care of more traffic. At what point does it make sense financially to spend that money on an alternative type of transportation like regional rail instead of just adding more highway?
Yeah, Josh, and I think too, the public wants it. The public goes to other places that have it, and the public wants to keep their kids here so they don't move away and go to other places that have it. And for me to jump on after work some night up north in Edmond and run to a Thunder game, meet some friends downtown for dinner that rode it that morning to work, go to the Thunder game, we jump back home at the end of the game, they're going home from dinner. I'm going home, I'm just going to the Thunder game. We talked about kids that want to get access to OU or UCO or Oklahoma City University, because it's all going to connect, right? Especially on this slide, it's going to connect to the buses, it's going to connect to the bus rapid transit. And so I appreciate that. Jess?
I just have a question on Zoom from Sherry Jordan. What happens if a community doesn't agree to tax themselves to participate? Will they still get service?
Great question. So before we get to that vote of the people someday, the cities will decide if they're still in or not, and then we'll go to a vote. And other cities can also buy in, and then majority rules. Great question, Sherry. Yes, Councilwoman. See. It's a part of the bus route, isn't it, over there?
Yeah, it just depends on the location of all the various, whatever, Francis Tuttle technical schools, but, those entities would probably more likely be served by expanded bus system, potentially a new concept that we're exploring in the transit industry and even within Oklahoma City as part of MAPS 4, and that is like a on-demand or a micro transit where it's more of a scheduled reservation-based type transportation. But going back to the goals of the board, mobility and connectivity, and so the idea is to ensure that we have everybody can connect, everybody has the same opportunity to use the service. Just as we know, where trips originate and the destinations differ, we can't cover every square mile, of course, with the high capacity corridor, but really the focus is making sure that connectivity is there.
That's right. And the key is really, we can't have a stop everywhere that everybody wants to stop, because then you can't get anywhere because there's too many stops, and we can't have rail everywhere, we can't have bus everywhere, but that's where we get a lot of feedback and engagement from the public. Yes, Councilwoman.
One of the things that we had worked on early when Elizabeth and I were on the original RTA as part of ACOG, was the exciting thing is that we already have 3 bus systems that are not aligned, but could be.
Right.
So my question, so I'm talking about Norman, Oklahoma City, and CityLink here in Edmond. So my question is there any movement towards working while we're not completely connected as a unit, but where we could connect more? For example, the termination of Edmond is at like 122nd and Kelly, and the termination of Edmond is not far from there, but is there any work on trying to connect those so at least people can transfer from one system to another, creating a workforce transportation mode before we get to the rail?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I'll take that one since it's kind of specific to the bus system. But yeah, I would say, generally speaking, over the last 4 to 5 years, there's been an increased amount of collaboration between, CityLink, Embark, and the city of Norman, especially now that the city of Norman has really took over their own public transit system and actually have a contractual relationship now with Embark to provide that service. So some examples is, particularly between Oklahoma City and Norman, we've done some coordination there. One example of that is like the Sooner Express, the express route between Oklahoma City and Norman. We Embark, are now basically managing that route. We used to split it between the city of Norman and Embark, and it just makes more sense. It's more efficient for one transit operator to provide that service rather than 2. So that's kind of an area where we've been able to expand service. We're actually running more trips between Oklahoma City and Norman. We're doing it all under one operator. And then we're always sensitive to being able to connect up north to CityLink. CityLink now connects downtown, so there are transfers from CityLink available to the Embark system downtown. If we could do some of that further out, we're certainly open to it. Again, it's just a matter of collaborating with the operators and the staff. So that in itself is, and I know that was a focus early on, some of the ACOG work that was done was making sure those bus systems integrate, and they'll have to make this successful.
Yeah, and that's key as well to the board to work with all of our stakeholders. So again, I want to thank everybody. We got to watch our time, and I don't want Beth to be over when she runs a meeting, because she's a lot better than me, and we don't want to be over when she runs a meeting. But I will say, like I told Larry years ago when we first sat down and talked about this, it's fun, right? We're putting together a puzzle. We don't have all the pieces. We don't know how much they're going to cost, but we've got a great team and tremendous resources, and we need you to get involved, to learn, to go to our website, and to be positive. So thank you, Jason, for all that you do.
I promise there's a reason for all this technology changing. James, thank you very much. Jason, thank you very much. Mayor Wayner, thank you also for being here today. We like to give James a hard time, but he really is a good friend to us. He is a great leader in our community in the metro area, and he's a great leader of our club. So we still like to give you a hard time. So anyhow, thank you very much for your presentation today. It was very, very informative. Let's see. We've got a book signed today for Ida Freeman. It says, "Keep Reaching for the Stars," James Boggs. And he picked Snow Pony. snow pony and the miniature ponies. That's a mode of transportation right there, is a pony.
Transportation, and I'm a dad and daughter.
Let's see, just a couple more things. Dan, congratulations again for drawing the pot last week. I was totally dumbfounded when I saw that. So anyhow, congratulations. We're going to change that up this week. We were drawing for the King of Diamonds. So I think now we're going to draw the Ace of Diamonds. Are we good with that? Ace of Diamonds. Okay. And
No joker.
no, I was going to give him a hard time on that one. Okay.
You get half the pot.
Jason, I'm going to go ahead and let you draw. Just draw a ticket. Just one ticket for our scholarship drawing. All right, let's see. Last four numbers are 4325. 4325. No one?
Someone left?
Did someone leave? Draw again. All right. 4358. I feel like we need to do a slow clap for Dan, like, come on, Dan.
We got a deal with it.
I know, it's an inside
We're
deal.
supposed to split it.
Hold on, Dan, hold on. Before Dan draws that, if he pulls it, I swear we're going to Vegas, right?
That is good stuff. We do like to have a little bit of fun. One correction, just real quick, Jennifer had on the bulletin, the bicycle tour is not November 6th, it is November 7th, and she still needs 2 SAG drivers, so we had a little correction there. I think we are just about done today. Once again, I challenge each and every, Peggy. Mark's book signing at the Patriarch tonight at 6 o'clock. Congratulations. Oh, there's the book. Okay, there's a chance the police chief is driving by, so.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock at the Patriarch. Congratulations, Mark. That's a great accomplishment. So my challenge to you is to go out and be impactful, be a great Rotarian, and practice service above self. We'll see you next week.